Howdy, and welcome to Lead to Grow, Module 5, Lesson 1 on Principle versus Expediency. Well, in Lesson 1, we're going to explore what are the differences between principle and expediency. May I suggest as you go through this module, please pay very close attention for understanding of what you are learning. Why? Because what you learn may, just may, change your life and leadership. Well, James Webb said, where principle is involved, be deaf to expediency. Two of my young grandsons, who call me G Bob, that stands for Grandbob, and call my wife Mimi, were born 2 years apart from each other, but their birthdays are only one day apart. Since their birthdays are so close, most parents would throw one combined birthday party, right? Wouldn't it make sense to have one party? Yes. Wouldn't it be more convenient for everyone and save time? Yes. In other words, hosting one party for the two boys would be expedient. However, my son and daughter in law made a principled decision to have a separate birthday party for each boy. This year, the older grandson wanted a birthday cake, and the younger grandson wanted birthday cupcakes. At each occasion, we sang happy birthday and gave the honoree his gifts. Each grandson felt so important to have all of the attention just on him. Each was king of the hill, if only for a day. And that was what mattered most. Not saving time and effort by combining the parties. Every person can identify principal behavior through the following characteristics and results. Principal behaviors are actions based on the following: fundamental beliefs and rules of conduct, long-term appropriateness and effectiveness, self-discipline, and willingness to forego the lure of immediate gratification are tempting shortcuts. The following are characteristics of principal behavior: more time consuming, team centered, focus on we, analytic, proactive, intentional, sacrificial in the short term, painful in the short term, worthwhile in the long term, secure. Principled behavior is rooted in faith. Faith that what you want to happen is going to happen, and faith in the process that will produce what? Long-term success. That is why I said, where there is faith, there is no fear. And where there is fear, there is no faith. When you consistently make principled decisions, you will eventually experience growth and success. And when your people and when the leaders exhibit principled behaviors, and employ principled decision making, your business also experience growth and success. Specifically, principled behavior results in the following: sound decisions, reduced risk, fewer errors, less rework, continual progress, lasting gratification, enjoyment and fun, less stress, respect from and for others. So, are you willing to incur short term pain, sacrifice, and the investment of time, energy, and money to behave in a principled way? When you do behave in a principled way, have you found that it eventually brings long term growth, blessing, and success? Now let's look at what are expedient behaviors. Have you ever made a bad decision? When the mistake became obvious, did you have to spend a lot of time afterwards mending fences, dealing with the negative impact of your decision? Have you made, you know what? I've made many, even though I never have had a bad decision run my life. Each time I've thought quite a bit about what went wrong. I believe that the root cause of our bad decisions usually come down to what? Expedient behavior. Expedient behaviors are those that fulfill a personal, immediate self-interest. They are done without consideration of what is just, fair, or right for the long term. So expedient behavior has the following characteristics: seems quick and easy, is self-centered, focus on who? Me. Provides short-term pleasure, reactive to the current situation, offers short-term gain, gives immediate gratification, is based on anxiety and insecurity, often indicates the pride of the person making the decision. Please keep in mind that expedient behavior is rooted in fear. The fear that you're going to lose something you don't want to lose, or fear that you're going to experience something you don't want to experience. When expedient behavior becomes a habit, you, those around you as the leader, and your employees as a whole suffer unhealthy consequences. The following are examples of the result of expediency. Many unforeseen errors are found. The decision maker or makers and others must rework to find yet another solution. Other important priorities are neglected. Others affected by the expedient decision or decisions complain about the consequences. Conflict arises because of unforeseen complications. The decision maker or makers often experience what? Regret for the expedient decision. The outcome fails entirely. When these unhealthy consequences occur, do you blow them off with excuses by blaming someone or something else? Or do you learn from them and change to a principled way of behavior so you can move forward? Principled behavior may take a little more time and a little more personal restraint, but principal behaviors almost always produce better results than expedient ones. So, how often do you find yourself mending fences due to expedient behavior? Are you learning from your failures so you can move forward? You know, in every moment of every day, we are making choices. We have choices to behave in an expedient way or in a principled way. We can choose to play now in an expedient way and pay more later, or pay now in a principled way and play more later. Either way you choose, you still pay. This is why I have said we make choices and our choices make us. In fact, much like the concept of compounding interest, if you choose to play now and pay later, you will pay more later. The choice is clear. Again, this is why I have said, though we have the freedom to make choices, we are not free to choose the consequences of our choices. May I suggest you pause this video for a moment so you can study this diagram that I have created to help give you a picture of the choices we make and the consequences of our choices. Jim Rohn said, "We must all suffer one of two things: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret or disappointment." So, in lesson one, we explored what are the differences between principle and expediency. Do you mostly behave out of fear or faith? Which do you prefer? To play now and pay more later, or to pay now and play more later? How can you prepare yourself to choose principled thinking and its benefits rather than the empty promises of expedient thinking? Well, in, in lesson one on principle versus expediency, write down 1, 2, 3 action items you would like to take today. And this concludes lesson one on principle versus expediency.